This call is now being recorded.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. On behalf of EC Department NCET, we welcome you all for fifth day HTTP. So today we have speaker Dr. D. Ganga from Nagpur. Let me give brief introduction about our beloved speaker. Dr. Ganga has completed a ME in Electrical Drives and Embedded Control at in College of Engineering campus in 2007. She has obtained PhD in Real-Time Predictive Analysis at NIT Nagaland in the year 2018, and she is currently serving as an assistant professor in Department of EEE at the NIT Nagaland. She has 15 years experience in teaching. Her research areas are condition monitoring of and Internet of Things, data analytics for electrical applications and industrial automation. She has authored research papers in various international journals such as IEEE, Springers, etc., and other international conferences also. So we are much obliged to having ma'am with us. Thank you, ma'am. We can start now.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for the introduction because, thank you, sir. Thanks for the introduction because participants would be knowing about the area in which we are working. So if you have any questions relevant to that area, please share with me so that we can discuss also.
Okay, ma'am. We will share. Thank you.
Sure, sir.
Now we can start. Over to you.
Okay, sir. So good morning, one and all. And today we are going to discuss about IoT application development using LabVIEW. And I'm glad to discuss with the faculty members about this particular topic because you would be able to guide the students in this particular area so that the students would be getting a lot of better career opportunities in the future because this is the area which is in the current trend. And about IoT, it is seen that IoT will change the world. Of course, because in current existing world, we have two sectors, consumer sectors and industry sector. Whether IoT has reached both of these sectors, if we see, technically when we see, we have these two sectors, consumer sectors and industry sectors. Whether IoT has reached this particular sectors, if we have a question like that, then obviously we have proof that it has reached the consumer sector enormously when we have the taxi-based applications, which is nothing but your Uber, Ola, everything, because they have the traffic congestion map in their particular smartphone, in their particular app which they are using, the drivers. And in the industrial sector, this is one of the most important sector which will act as a backbone for our country. Of course, consumer sectors also. In industrial sector, Industry 4.0 was initiated by Germany with the idea of connecting all the devices or all the machines operating in a particular industry, which is coined as the term like Industry 4.0 or Industrial Internet of Things or Smart Industry, whatever we call. So the focus behind this technology is to integrate all the devices which are operating in the industry so that better performance could be achieved. And also the existing technologies which are devised from Industry 3.0, named as industrial automation, which is existing in industries, the performance of the existing technology could be enhanced. So the idea is to connect digitally all the machines products and also the people who are operating, the designers, operators, whoever the technicians who are operating in the industries, all could be well connected digitally 24/7. So if the devices are going to get connected, so we have a question whether are these devices are not connected in the previous era or in the previous years. Certainly the answer is yes, the devices are connected in the past from the 20th century when computation has been discovered. I mean, computation in the sense computing devices have been discovered from Industry 3.0 era. But still, what is the difference between the previous digital connection between the devices and the present digital connection that has been talked about widely? The major difference is the data from all the devices existing in an industry or in a consumer sector, or not industry in the sense it is not about a premises or enterprise which is going to operate in a single location. We have a lot of industries like agriculture which are widely spread out. So all the devices, all the people are getting connected over internet. And over internet in the sense, all the data would be pushed into the cloud, which we well know. Means that is the concept behind IIoT. There was M2M communication in the previous days also, but still this is quite different in the way that the sensors data, the data sensed by the sensor from all the devices would be connected to the cloud. And that is not going to be only for monitoring. That is going to have a control for the optimized production flow in the industry. You can take any kind of production, any kind of manufacturing industry, or of course, outcome is going to be the products. So this is the structure in which it is going to operate. As I told, these are all the existing assets or existing technologies present in the industry. Along with that, it is going to get connected with the edge nodes which are going to get connected to the cloud. So till the edge nodes, it was Industry 3.0. And from the edge to the cloud node, it is going to be IIoT. Now these sensors and actuators and along edge node here, there is a small difference between the edge node that is present in Industry 3.0 and Industry 4.0. Here the edge nodes are capable of computing high computational algorithm. As I told you, Industry 3.0 started with the discovery of computational devices. But still, the computational devices that were incorporated in Industry 3.0 and 3.4 has a huge difference. Now, earlier the devices were such as, which are used in industrial automation, which is at the edge side, are going to were like PLC, PAC, or your DCS. PLC is your programmable logic controller, PAC is your programmable automation controller, and DCS is your distributed control system, or PCS, process control system. With these devices only, the industrial systems were controlled and optimized. When we see the computational capacity of these devices, it is not in such a way that it had the computation capacity of the devices such that we have now. So now in what way it is different? In what way it is different is the edge nodes have high computation capacity, as well as the edge nodes are capable of communicating to the cloud. So it has the interfaces for connecting over the internet. And also it has a high-end processors as said it can run AI algorithms in this itself. We are talking about LabVIEW-based IoT application development. So this is a simple Rio device which is produced by the NI National Instruments. And they have different family of Rio devices. This is the first level, that is MyRio. And they have other devices such as compact Rio, PXI, automated systems, everything. So this Rio device will act as an edge node, which I have shown you here. This Rio device has the capability, though this is the first level device, but this device, this is an FPGA based, RT and FPGA based device, which you would be knowing by this time because we have been conducting lectures on this particular area for a long time. So this MyRio is capable of acting as an edge node. So what are the features that MyRio should have? MyRio should have a computational platform to execute high-level algorithms, means signal processing algorithms or your ML algorithms. MyRio should have that capacity. ML algorithms, it cannot execute deep learning algorithms, but still it could execute certain ML algorithms also. Or you can take your compact Rio or your PXI automated test system, whatever be these family of devices produced by NI, National Instruments, are said to have a better edge computing capacity. So what the MyRio can do is, the sensors connected to these MyRio or the actuators connected to these family of MyRio are capable of sending the data in real time to the virtual world. This is quite important. You please note down this one, in real time, because the speed of execution of the device also matters if we want to include the term real time. All the devices cannot, even the protocols, the IoT protocols, what we are going to see in the future slides, we cannot say that it will meet the real time expectations. Means real time means, I hope, because we know how we have to define the real time. So edge device, this MyRio is capable of sending the device, sending the data about the system through through it. The data about the system would be sensed by the sensor and given to the MyRio, which is in real time at high sampling rate, which is capable of connecting over the cloud. So MyRio edge device is capable of operating in real time. Whether the IT enterprise sector, IT cloud sector is capable of receiving it in real time or not is the next question. First, let us complete about this part, because when it is going to be about lab IoT application development using LabVIEW means, mostly it will fall under this category, in the edge side. But still, I will show you an application which I have developed with my guide in NIT Nagaland about how we can have the LabVIEW this side also. As far as devices are concerned, in the edge side means nearer to the system in which we are going to develop applications, so that the application data, so the system data could be sent to the cloud through the application. So what are the challenges? If you want to implement this one, what are the challenges? The challenges are, as I told you, real time is one of the challenge. Beyond that, the standardization, when I took my previous lecture in the same series, I told you about the IoT 4.0 design principles. So the 4.0 industrial IoT means nothing but 4.0. So the 4.0 requires all the devices to be connected digitally through cloud or through internet. If that is the case, we know that we have different devices manufactured by different vendors. Suppose if I take the machines, it could be manufactured by Siemens, or it could be manufactured by any other Indian company. So, or if you take any mobile phone also, it could be, we have different companies. Or if we take a drive, Allen Bradley or Siemens. So we have different company, even NI also. So we have the products manufactured by different companies, and we choose the products based on the application requirement. This is well known. So interoperability is a challenge. How these two devices manufactured by different when different OEMs who have different standards for acquisition, for processing, for communication, they will have different standards. So how we are going to make all those devices to exchange information, that is your interoperability. Standardization means, as I told, different vendors have different communication standards, and if with that different somebody may be communicating the data with Modbus, somebody may be communicating the data with Profinet, somebody else may be communicating the data over TCP. So, but all have to get connected over the internet. Like serial, we have a lot of communication interfaces, as we know. So when each device is going to communicate the data present in it through some protocol, serial protocol, or your TCP, or your all this has to be, all the data format has to be standardized. All the communication format has to be standardized, because they have to talk with each other and all should communicate to the same single platform. So there should be a standardization. And when we have lot of devices in the world, if our objective is to connect all the devices existing in the world over IoT, so the big data handling is another challenge, and the security and privacy. So if we are developing an application, IoT based application, these are the challenges. So these are all the research areas. So we should be able to provide, or we have to research in such a way that we are able to provide some solutions for interoperability, standardization, handling, security, privacy. And it is not remote to easy, or it is not remote to triple E, or we cannot say that all these are belonging to only computer science area. Of course, because the application, IoT application is developed from the hardware side. So it is a kind of application which requires interdisciplinary nature. So it is only in the application and only in the cloud side we have to do changes in such a way that we make the application more secure and we have some privacy over the application, because we can have ownership over the application. That is privacy. Means when I'm like, we have different kinds of clouds like public cloud, all those things, private cloud, public cloud, hybrid cloud, like that. So these are the challenges. So if as I told you, if an IoT application is developed, whether it's through LabVIEW or whether it's through any other programming language, these are the factors which have to be considered. And particularly we are talking about LabVIEW. So in LabVIEW, if the application is developed, at the advanced stage, once the basic application is developed, as the application security could be enhanced, or the interoperability, like that we can have a lot of focus into it. And fine, why all these data are being, what is the need for all? Is it enough? Like if it is getting connected and if it is going to communicate the information to the cloud? Definitely that is not going to be the end of IIoT. This is the first level for the IIoT. The next level, after getting connected, after the data is being shared, the insight what the company is able to unlock from the data, that will make that insights will help the devices to become smarter. So here comes the analytics part. So if a LabVIEW application is developed, how the LabVIEW application could suit the analytics part also is a question. So as I told you, like the data from the systems are getting streamed to the cloud platform. And in the cloud platform, the data is operated under certain algorithms, specific algorithms like like classification, clustering, or something like that, or signal processing, and we get some insights. So what the cloud can offer and how the cloud offers these as a services. The cloud will offer these as a service. So when we talk about cloud computing, so the cloud computing is nothing but it delivers, it is a computing platform, together we can say, which is capable of delivering hardware, software, and also platform. Here it is given as data resources, means the platform, hardware, software, or API, service applications, via network on the user's request. So the user's request is the user now is going to be an IoT application developed in LabVIEW, let us say. So the IoT application developed in LabVIEW will be able to communicate the data to the cloud to get these services. Whatever as per the requirement of the application, it can get the services. So this is how the cloud computing platform exists. So here, as I told you, here you can have three kinds of services are shown here. It can have three kinds of services: application as a service, platform as a service, infrastructure as a service. These are the services the cloud can offer. Now mostly we will not, as developers, we will not be talking about this infrastructure and platform because these are all related to hardware. Suppose if we don't have the database, we can get the database over the cloud. If anyone of you have worked in this particular cloud-based application, you could recognize very easily. Like if we don't have database, we can, certain clouds offer the database, certain clouds may not offer also, but generally it will have like that. So storage, if we don't have enough storage, we can get the enough storage. If we don't have the processor of high-end capacity, like suppose if you want to run the AI algorithm and if the device at the edge is not capable of doing it, then the data could be sent to the cloud and the algorithm could be run here and then we can get back. Because for AI algorithm, we need graphical processing units, which is not available in the CPUs, normal central processing unit. So the application, when we are talking about as developers, we'll be talking about the application. So application in the sense here, different kinds of applications are shown here. These are all general for understanding what is what a cloud application can offer. So it can have monitoring, it can have processing, content processing, and it can have some kind of, this application can be collaborated with some other application and can give. So these are all the various services that are listed whenever we are talking about cloud. Because this is important because we are going to talk about IoT based application using LabVIEW. So if you are developing application, it has to be connected to the cloud. The clouds that I'll tell you about cloud. So this is about your software as a service cloud, platform as a service, software as a service. These are all the three services. Now, these were offered by the cloud. And how to connect the IoT device to we saw about the type of devices, NI devices that are capable of acting as an IoT device and what it has to do. It has to communicate the data sensed by the sensor to the cloud. So how it's going to communicate. So these are all the protocols. This is not only for the LabVIEW based application. These are all the general IoT protocols. If we are developing a LabVIEW based application, then that particular application should be able to communicate over this using these protocols. So the protocols are, these are all application protocol and these are all not, you can say these are all application protocols for IoT connectivity. Means the application in which you are, whatever the application, IoT application you develop, that application could get connected to the cloud using any one of these protocols. These are, of course, beyond this, we have a lot of other protocols also. But still, these are the protocols which will have some kind of LabVIEW support, right? So here, the protocol HTTPS, we know, yes, it is going to be hypertext protocol, right? WebSocket, data distribution, and then MQTT and AMQP. Now, when we are talking about HTTP, what kind of communication it's going to execute? Or when you are talking about MQTT, what kind of communication it's going to perform? These will be the questions. Generally, the protocols will be of two types: request, response, and publish, subscribe. So this HTTP, WebSocket, these will come under the request response. Messaging type. That is going to be of the format request and response. If you take MQTT and AMQP, it is going to be a publish and subscribe. And as I told you, real-time behavior, the edge device could be capable of communicating in real-time aspect. But whether the connectivity is possible, whether when it is pushed to the cloud, whether is it possible to do in real time or not, that's a question. So here, if you see, all these 4 protocols will not suit the real-time application, real-time behavior which is required, except this one, because this is going to get connected over the data bus, but these are all going to get connected over the internet, and we can have wired as well as wireless also. And why, suppose if you see this MQTT, they say no, but they also give the range in which the communication can happen, from millisecond to seconds. AMQP, it will communicate only in the range of seconds. It will not even communicate it will not even suit the purpose of millisecond. So out of these 4 protocols, which is in our hands, suppose if you want a better, if you need to have a faster communication, faster data exchange, then you have to faster data update, let us say sample update, that also we can call. Then we would go for either MQTT or D2D. Now here, the typical use case which is given here will also make you to understand about the particular kind of protocol, because HTTP, yes, we know we communicate over the web using these protocols. When it goes for D2S and S2S, typical use case using MQTT and AMQP, so far we have not seen handy much of the applications, but like we cannot see over our naked eyes, but still the application could be developed in the back end. So out of these 4, it depends on the nature of the application, what would be a choice of the protocol. So in this lecture, I will give you some kind of light on MQTT and HTTP, right? Because one is for publish, subscribe, and another is for request response. And as I told you about the transport, they have this common standard of, but here they can have an UDP also. This particular DDS can work on UDP also. Security wise, I told you, right? In Industry 4.0 or in IIoT, security is a major concern. Whether a particular protocol will suit the security or not, that is also a verifiable point. We have to verify that one. So LabVIEW support. These 4 protocols have the support for, LabVIEW has the support for these protocols. You can see here one more thing, what has to be observed is about the native and the third-party package. HTTP and HTTPS are native. LabVIEW has these features inbuilt. But if you see this WebSocket, DDS, MQTT, AMQP, it has to be done through a VI package manager or like a third-party manager. So third-party tool have to be installed corresponding to these protocols. Then only you will be able to develop a LabVIEW application. Quality of service is also it's also a debate actually. Like when I'm coming to the MQTT, I'll tell you about the quality of service, because you have to enable a kind of flag there to prescribe the quality of service. Means whether it has to reach at least once or at most once, like that. At least once and at most once has some differences. So here, these are the clouds. If an IoT application has to be developed, the edge side, we have 2 components. One is the edge side and another is the cloud side. So these are all the cloud platforms which are majorly adopted for an IoT application. That is Amazon Web Services IoT, IBM Watson, ThinkWorks, and then Microsoft Azure. Here, the support for the protocols would be given. When you go for the search for choosing an IoT application, you just look into the kind of support for the protocols and what kind of deployment options. I told you about the security privacy, right? So when it's going, if you want a private application, if you want some have some kind of privacy, then IBM Watson would be able to offer both public or private cloud. Whereas Amazon Web Services give only act as a public cloud. So you have to check whether that options are available or not. So here these were all four major. Like when we check for the protocol, AMQP, WebSockets, and data format, all the application, you just note down if these clouds will talk only in this particular format, data format, JavaScript object notation. So if an IoT application is developed in whatever language, the data has to be converted into a JSON format. The sensor data has to be converted into the JSON format. And rules engine present in the cloud will enable you to have some kind of operation on the data. Like it can support analytics, or it can support some kind of alerts. So that is the role of your rules engine. And LabVIEW connectivity, we are talking about IoT application using LabVIEW. So LabVIEW connectivity, if you see, I told you about 4 clouds here. One is your AWS, IBM, and then your ThinkWorks, and then your this is the Azure, Microsoft Azure. Now, when we develop a LabVIEW application and that LabVIEW application is going to connect to the cloud, then we have to check whether the cloud has the feature to accept the data from the LabVIEW application. So these 4 clouds can support LabVIEW application connectivity. So correspondingly, we have some kind of third-party VI managers, means provided by these clouds. You can see here. And we have to install that one. And these are all the other features which you have to cross-check. Now, let me show you an application for developing an IoT application using MQTT. Before going into the application development, I don't know whether you all know about, whether you have come across this particular kind of protocol MQTT. So I'm just giving a brief explanation about it. So MQTT means it's going to be message queue telemetry transport. Here, the way in which the message is going to communicate is based on the publish and subscribe. So for communication, we need 2 ends. One who is sending the information, one who is receiving the information. So publishers are senders. Receivers are your subscribers. So then what is the role of a broker? So the thing is here, the publisher and subscriber cannot communicate directly one-to-one. They cannot have a one-to-one communication. Instead, the publisher, the sender has to send to a broker, and the subscriber has to take the information from the broker. So if you see this particular kind of framework in a practical application aspect, here we have some kind of devices. And these devices are going to send some data needs to send some data to some other end. Let us say the cloud end, or let us say another device also. over internet. Okay. So now all these devices are going to give to the broker. And how the receiver can find out the way in which they can extract the information, because all are putting the information to the broker in a single bucket. But the receiver should have some kind of mechanism to identify the message required for them. So that is being accomplished by the term called as your topic. So topic is very important. So if you are developing a LabVIEW application using MQTT, you download the corresponding AT plan or something corresponding VA package corresponding to a particular cloud given by the cloud itself. Because I showed you 4 clouds which are supporting the LabVIEW connectivity. So if you are working on a particular application, on an application with a particular cloud, you please go through the VA package suitable for that, download it and install. Right? After installation, you will be having the VAs corresponding to the MQTT. Now, if your application is going to communicate the information over MQTT, then randomly it cannot communicate. It will have a term called as topic. So here the topic will be the identifier for the sender and the receiver. One more beautiful thing here is the receiver will not know who is the sender, and the sender may not also know who is going to receive it, but they will know only the topic. Like they will know only the address in which the information is going to be passed. So the topic should be available both with the receiver and both with the subscriber and the publisher. Suppose, for example, if you see here, these are all the 3 ships whose speed is monitored over using IoT application. Now, all are going to send the data of speed. If they are random, if they are just sending the speed data blankly without any topic, then the subscriber will not be able to identify which speed corresponds to which system. So here, the topic for this particular ship is ship 1 rotation speed. The topic for the particular, here you have 2 kinds of the topic for the same ship. Here it is the different ship. So the topic for this ship is ship 2 forward speed. So now, if the subscriber has to get the data of the speed of ship 1 as a rotational speed or forward speed, or the data of the ship 2, whoever is interested, they have to subscribe for the data under this particular topic. So here, this subscriber is interested in getting the data under this topic. So he would be getting the data published by this device under this topic. Ship 2 forward speed will go to this subscriber. Similarly here, the ship 1 data will go to this subscriber who has published for this topic, ship 1, ship 1. So this is the concept, this is the framework behind the MQTT communication, publisher, subscriber. Now, the broker has to receive the data published by the publishers, and it has to distribute the data under a particular topic whenever the subscriber is requesting for the information in that particular topic. That is the role of the broker. So the broker, I told before in the previous slide, we saw about the data handling. So data handling is also a challenge. So MQTT broker will be available in the cloud, because if the IoT application, when a lot of devices are going to get connected, then there should be going to get connected with the broker. Then the broker should be available. The broker should have a good computational capacity and good platform in which it is running, so that it can handle a lot of data. So generally, the MQTT broker we can install an MQTT broker separately also, or we can have an MQTT broker over cloud. But if it is in the cloud, that particular broker will be able to handle the messages, huge, enormous number of messages it is facing. So now, this is the architecture in which a LabVIEW application, because as we know, LabVIEW is very famous for instrumentation applications. So if you have this is the framework in which a LabVIEW application has to be developed such that it has the IoT features. So with the continuation of the MQTT protocol, what we have seen, suppose if you are going to develop a LabVIEW application using MQTT, so what are the stages that it should have is the edge device should run a LabVIEW application which is capable of having a connectivity. That LabVIEW application should have the connectivity with the cloud. So here this is the cloud. So where you can have the storage, as I told you, the cloud can offer 3 different kinds of services: storage as a service, platform as a service, or hardware as a service. Now, hardware we don't need because we have the hardware here. Only for the computation, we need some kind of platform, which was offered by storage also for data storage and computation, historical data visualization. We need some features, so which is offered by the application software here. Now this MQTT application should run in the NI Rio. The Rio is acquiring the data from different kinds of sensors, and the application, LabVIEW application running in Rio, gets connected to the MQTT broker in cloud. This cloud is nothing but IBM Bluemix cloud, right? IBM Watson cloud. So it can go again to the Bluemix, and the Bluemix is a component there in Watson cloud. So this Bluemix will get connected to the user interfaces for visualization and other kind of business application, like collaboration, all those kinds of things. Having seen about the MQTT framework, about publish, broker, subscriber, means broker is in between the publisher and subscriber, whoever needs that. If a LabVIEW application has to be developed, then as I told you, you download the VI package corresponding to the particular cloud and the protocol, right? So here mostly like in IBM Watson, they give a AT plan as a third-party VA package. Once if you install that one, you will be getting all these kinds of VAs from that. This MQTT broker or MQTT client. This is here, it's via MQTT connect, publish, and then communication port. Actually, this is one. Fine. Now, you should be able to understand what this MQTT publish VA is going to do. From the discussion, what I did with you related to MQTT publish subscribe here, you should be able to understand here what is the role of the publish. So the publish is the one which is going to be responsible for streaming the data over the internet, MQTT publish. So what are all the features that publish should have to connect to the broker? To connect to the broker, the publish should first of all know to which broker it is going to get connected, like here or here. Rio is going to publish some data using MQTT client application. First of all, Rio should know to which kind of broker it is going to communicate. So the information of the broker has to be given when an application is developed. So the MQTT broker information will be fed in this user interface. Along with that, so MQTT broker is known. Address of the MQTT broker is given. So that will be passed when the data is going to get, that will be passed to the next VA publish. Now, broker is known. The client ID is also important. Means in the internet you have a lot of devices. I mean, in the application you can have n number of devices. So all to identify a particular application, to have some kind of authentication details, the client ID is also an important part. So the client ID, MQTT broker and flag and metadata, as I told you, the data format is also important because the data format should be, at last when you are going to send, the cloud is capable of communicating only in JSON. So the metadata format is also important. Now, I told you about QoS. QoS is nothing but quality of service. Quality of service means we can set the QoS in the flags. So you have three kinds of QoS, 0, 1 and 2 in MQTT. So based on the application requirement, you can send the QoS also. Apart from that, what are the information that has to be communicated if the application has to work on MQTT is the metadata, published metadata in JSON format and the current metadata, and also the topic. Basically, the topic is very important, as I told you, because whatever the message that is written here in the publish should be concatenated with the topic information. So the string concatenation should happen. Because now, right now, you might be well aware of string concatenation and other things, because having attended LabVIEW workshop in a series, definitely you should have worked out on handling the strings and all. Mostly here, the string related information, string related operation will be more, because the data topic, it has to be given in string format, message has to be given in string format, and both have to be concatenated with each other. Like here, this is the topic, ship 1 rotation speed. So out of this, ship 1 rotation speed is the topic, and along in this topic the message has to be attached with it. So here, if you see, have we satisfied? Yeah. Have we satisfied giving all these kinds of information is for the application in such a way that the application is able to have some kind of network, LabVIEW application is going to have some kind of internet connectivity. I mean, network connectivity with the cloud. Yes. Because the broker is given, the client ID who is supplying the information, the identifier is given, because this is required for the broker to create a space for the application. And flags about the QoS is given, the metadata here it's given, and here the published metadata means the JSON format should be given so that the data which is coming would be converted into that format and it will get connected. That's it. And there is no kind of any magic here. That's it. That's all. Suppose now it has reached the cloud and you have to receive the information. It is not necessary that cloud should have the kind of same, I told you, like cloud need not run the LabVIEW application. Cloud need not have the LabVIEW with it, but the cloud can receive the information from the LabVIEW application. It has, that's why they give the API interface, everything, and with that only all these kinds of things are created and we are publishing. And now here, this is an example for if the cloud is having a node, there are multiple ways in which We can receive the MQTT data. We can receive through Node-RED also. This is a kind of an example which I have shown you here using Node-RED. Any device which is Node-RED is also a kind of like a graphical application only, like your LabVIEW. So here, any application which is capable of any device which is capable of running Node.JavaScript, Node.js, that would be, if you install this Node.js, any device would be able to run a Node-RED application. So here, this is an MQTT node which is present there. And this MQTT node should be given with the information about the topic in which the data is going to be published, in which the publisher is going to send the data, and about the broker from whom we can send the data. We can see that we can receive the data of the topic, data format. Like here, everything should be given here also in this particular node, MQTT node in the Node-RED. Means the client ID is not required for the subscriber. What the subscriber requires is, this can run in the cloud. Now the cloud becomes a subscriber. You are the public, the LabVIEW application is a publisher and the cloud becomes a subscriber. So now the cloud in the Node-RED and the cloud in the MQTT node should have the information about the broker and also about the topic. So if those two informations are given, and if the connectivity is established and the data is published here, automatically we should be able to get the data here in this MQTT node. So this is how a LabVIEW application can be connected with the cloud. It is not necessary that you have to go with this Node-RED alone, because that is a different kind of area in which we can discuss about various ways in which we can develop a cloud application. And now I have told you about two things. One is cloud application having LabVIEW, or cloud application doesn't have a LabVIEW as here. This is not a LabVIEW application, this is a Node-RED application. So cloud application can also be developed in LabVIEW, and in the reverse case, any other application will be capable of communicating that particular LabVIEW application. Here, the client is the LabVIEW, right? Instead of that, the LabVIEW application can be in the cloud, and any other application developed using Python, like here as an example I have given you, developed using a Python, is going to communicate with the LabVIEW. So this is the work which we have implemented in NIT Nagaland in our lab. Like here we can see this is an IoT device, Siemens IoT device, which is running a Python application. And this Siemens IoT device is acquiring the data from from the machines, the vibration data from the machines, and it also gets connected to the actuators. Now this IoT 2040 acquires the vibration data in the Python target application, using the Python target application, and it uploads to the cloud. And now this cloud is connected to a LabVIEW application, where here you can see here, like this Python target application uploads to the cloud using RESTful service. RESTful service means it is going to operate on HTTP. So it's a kind, you have two different kinds of services, like RESTful and RESTless. So if it is going to communicate to the cloud using the Python target, here the client application is a Python application. application, then the service is going to be provided by the LabVIEW application. How we have done this is, it is I told you, like cloud could be either private cloud or public cloud or a hybrid cloud. Now we developed a cloud on our own as a private cloud here, and we ran the LabVIEW application in the private cloud. So now what happens in this application is, the vibration data is sent by the Python target application running in an IoT device to the cloud, and then from the cloud it is sent. In the cloud we have the LabVIEW application running, which is a client application, which is capable of receiving this. I call this as a client application because this application is also connected to the private cloud. Now, the LabVIEW application should be capable of reading the data sent by the Python target. So what is the connectivity between the Python and the LabVIEW? That is the first question. How a Python application can get connected with the LabVIEW? That is why we need to have a standardization, and we need to have a common kind of data format. Of course, the data format which is supported by the IoT cloud and by the LabVIEW and by the Python is JSON. So everything is converted into JSON, though this vibration sensor is operating on different protocol, but if it is going to operate on different protocol, it was operating in serial protocol, SPA. Actually, yeah. So if it is in serial communication, then it's going to be of different format, because it has its own data format, like start bit, stop bit, and payload. Again, what is that? Like CRC, redundancy check. All those things will be there in that data format. But that data format will not be suitable to be read by the IoT cloud. So everything has been converted into JSON. That is the standardization and interoperability. Because in the initial slide, I told you about the standardization and interoperability are the challenges in the IoT application development. So we have to explore the ways in which you can do it. Now how this LabVIEW application is going to help in, I told you one more thing also. It is not just the connectivity and data streaming alone is not going to be in IIoT. It is about the insight what is read out of the data by any company or by any research organization, so that the insight about the data will be well known, so that the application performance could be enhanced for either for maintenance, either for optimized production flow or optimized control, all those kinds of things. So as we know, LabVIEW is best for signal acquisition, data acquisition, and signal processing. Of course, MATLAB also we have signal processing, but each are different. Both are different in their own unique way. Because in LabVIEW, the best thing is data acquisition can happen at a higher sampling rate, and the noise will be very, very less compared to any other hardware device. The noise will be very, very less, and the reliability of reliability of the data and durability of the device will be very, very high. So here, the LabVIEW application will read the data streamed by the IoT application, and again it gets connected to the Diadem for further processing. Diadem is also another. It is not just the LabVIEW. It is what you can say. It is like a analytics software. We can say it's like an analytics software that is again provided by the National Instruments, NI. Now, how the LabVIEW application, how the data is sent, I'll tell you about this one after completing this one. So how the data is going to get processed is get communicated is I told you two ways. One is request response. I showed we can have a number of systems. So we set the multiple requests. And once the credentials are met in the authentication detail met that we have provided, if the credentials are matching with the authentication details, then it's fine. Both will get connected. Of course, you have to do a lot of settings in the cloud side also and in the application. It's like a username password be very well. So like this, the vibration data from the cloud, which is passed by the Python application, is taken again by the LabVIEW application and then it is working on. This is done because you cannot, I am telling you is because you cannot expect that it is not about like only connecting a device to the cloud and whatever they provide, that's it. It's not like that because the cloud services develop up either with the features available there, either you have to develop your own cloud application. But in real time related to electrical and electronics engineering or ECE, you will not have hardware related like signal processing. All those things will not be provided by the cloud service. As far as to my knowledge, those things were not provided by any of the cloud service provider. So they give data visualization format, they give alerts, they give interfaces for alerts, visualization, and even to some kind of like AI algorithm execution, like machine vision, all those things they will provide. But if you have some kind of indigenous your own application, you have to develop some kind of specific application in such a way that you can put it in the cloud by having a private cloud. So here, as I told you, it is going to use HTTP. In HTTP, you can see this kind of VI also in LabVIEW, like get VI, which will use the HTTP method and it will combine the client handle, whatever I have given here. It will use the HTTP method in the sense where this is your HTTP method, request method. You have two kinds of method like request and response. So it will use the request method. It will this get VI. It will use the get HTTP method and will combine the client handle. By that it will understand. It will understand whether it's going to whether it has to handle multiple requests or not, and it will read the API key. Means nothing but the API to which it has to get connected, and the URL of the data. When we talk about HTTP, it's going to be URL, right? And URL of the data, number of data entries. So because you have to understand, if the application is developed with HTTP, these are all the settings that have to be made. Suppose, as I have shown you in the earlier slide, if the application has to be developed in MQTT, then it's a different framework. So it depends on the protocol what you are choosing, IoT protocol what you are choosing, or any communication protocol. It's not only for IoT, any other communication also. Network protocol, accordingly you have to use. So accordingly, the programming methodology will also change. So if my suggestion to you is, if you want to develop an application using a network protocol, then first you study about first you have to know about the protocol details, then only you can go for the programming details. That is the reason first I have discussed with you about the protocol structure briefly, like how the protocol operates, but still request response I didn't discuss because I hope you know about that one earlier. So, but still I can give you, but I didn't make any slide here, but I can give you a brief explanation about the request and response. Like when the data request is the one through which the data would be posted. So here the getVI uses the post method. It gets what kind of request it is, what kind of method, whether it's going to be request or response. That one the getVI will get. So the getVI that is used in the program will get the request method, kind of HTTP method, whether it has to operate on request or response. It will understand, okay, if it is giving request method means, okay, it is going to post. The gateway is going to get some information and it reads the API key for authentication and client handle. And from where it is going to get the information also should be given to the gateway. The URL of the vibration data should also be given to the gateway and number of entries and everything. So now here the retrieved data from the cloud means the data which is taken from the data format in which the gateway is going to receive the data is going to be in JSON format. So there should be a conversion. Suppose if it is not in JSON also, there should be a conversion into a JSON format. So these are the things which you have to consider when you are developing an application. I'll show you one more block diagram also, where you have a Rio-based application. This is being executed by me in our NIT Nagaland, where you have, these are all examples for IIoT, right? I told you in the design principle, again in the initial part, I told you about interoperability. Means we will have different motors manufactured by different vendors, and we can have different kinds of drives that are controlling the motor, but still we want to have a global, we can say, we want to have a uniform or global or unison kind of monitoring and control over the internet. Means here, if we don't have this industrial Ethernet, and if we have this kind of industrial communication bus alone, then that will stop with Industry 3.0. But here, all the devices are connected over if you have the Ethernet connectivity that is connected with this Rio, to this Rio, all the devices were connected. it's a serial, right? All the devices were connected through this Rio. So here, through this Rio, it's able to talk with each other. If it is going to be only with this Rio, then it is going to be Industry 3.0. But here, this Rio is connected with an internet, and the data about the machine's vibration and speed are sensed by the Rio, and it is being transferred to the cloud. The speed and vibration are transferred to the cloud, and in the cloud, you are having the PCS. As I told you, you cannot explain. I mean, you can check. I don't know whether in Siemens Cloud they give. I think they are giving in Siemens Cloud, they are giving the PCS also. But still, at that time when I executed, I did what I did is I hosted this PCS in the cloud, and then we did it. So the services, like what the cloud can offer, three kinds of services. There is software as a service, hardware as a service, or platform as a service. Now we have got all these data, and we ran the software as a software services. I mean, we developed applications to run as a software service for condition monitoring and predictive maintenance. So here we will have a number of services that are running in the VMs. To these services, data would be provided to both the PCS as well as the service, and then computation will happen. The outcome of the computation is given as the thresholds. So this is how, this is one more application which we have developed in our laboratory. So now, if you have like PCS, so the LabVIEW will play a role up to this. It need not even get connected. One more beautiful thing here is, this LabVIEW application need not get connected with the PLC also directly. Because I have to tell you one more thing. In my earlier presentations, I told you about OPC. So OPC client and server concepts are there. So there were PLCs, there are currently also, there are PLC or PACs which are manufactured along with the OPC feature. So Rio will also have that OPC. We will be able to enable, Rio also supports, LabVIEW software also supports that OPC. So we'll be able to enable that OPC in Rio as well as the PCS, and both can get connected with each other. If that is the case, then it is going to be Industry 3.0. But there you cannot have any kind of analytics done. It could be because the computation limit is limited. And moreover, you cannot have scalability there. But if you go for such kind of IIoT applications using internet, you can have scalability as well as you can have enhanced computation. That is the reason why different experiments are experimented using this one. So this is another framework in which you can develop using Rio application. The same thing, you can apply the same MQTT or HTTP response, and you can expand your application. So I hope if you are starting to develop application in this manner, using your own experimental setup, whatever you have in your college, then you would be able to have some kind of expertise in the IoT instrumentation, let us say. IoT instrumentation along with the analytics. IoT instrumentation that is supporting the analytics. So that is the ultimate purpose, because instrumentation is the one which is going to have a major role in the industries. Because instrumentation requires visualization, it also requires flexibility, it requires modularity, means it cannot like have a fixed kind of thing, like it will support only one kind of device or fixed number of devices. So it should have modularity, it should have high-end computational capacity, and it should have good visualization, it should have communication interface. If all these things are available, then we could use that particular setup for IoT instrumentation. If you ask the question whether NI Rio has all those things, definitely NI, whatever the Rio platform devices are there, they have all these features. They have modularity, they have good high-end computation capacity. In ARM processor, they have inside the devices. So it runs at faster speed. And modularity means you can have n number of modules. Like in Stereo, you can have different. You can even increase the chassis slots also in Stereo. Of course, you know about Stereo, I guess. Stereo, I didn't have any diagram for Stereo here, but I hope you will know. So you can have chassis there, a lot of chances. So flexibility will be, modularity will be there. And again, communication interface. Communication interfaces will be available in Stereo. So all those things will, and you have the packages, what, as I told you, the MQTT and your HTTP request response VIs are available. And you know what are the clouds that are supporting the LabVIEW connectivity. These are the clouds. So you can go into you can search directly itself. You can just go through what are the LabVIEW cloud toolkit for AWS, for IBM, for these things. You can just go through it. And then correspondingly, you just download the SDKs required. And then you can start working on that. Format, just conversion, you just go through it. And like that, that's it. You can implement the things for your own application, and then you can expand, convert that into an IoT based instrumentation application. Beyond this, you have to work on different kinds of brokers that are available. Everything is available in internet. It's not a strange thing. Like it's not a black box. Now everything is open. So it's up to us, like how we are going to incorporate all these things and get it implemented. So the example for implementation is the work which I have shown, which we have executed in our lab. These two. And moreover, we have some more applications also, but because of the time constraint, I didn't put it here. So right now I'm stopping here. So if you have any questions or queries, you can please put up your queries. So that, or if you have anything to discuss with me, I can discuss. Any questions from participants?
Dear participants, if you have any doubt, now you can ask.
Similarly, similar to your MQTT, that is the structure. Similar to MQTT, you will have this AMQP also. Because this will also come under the publish subscribe. You can just check here. And if you don't have any questions, I'll just tell about this also. This is what I told you about Node.js. So if you're able to install the Node.js and if the device is running, then you will be able to connect with the Node-RED. About the flags, I tell you, about the QoS. Like you can set the QoS as 0 or 1 or 0 or 1 or 2. So here, suppose the QoS is quality of service. Quality of service means that here the discussion is going to be between the publisher and subscriber, let us say. Publisher is publishing some data under a particular topic, like here. This kind of ship, the publisher, they are going to publish some data under this kind of speed topic. And MQTT operates, as I told you, MQTT will have the range of milliseconds to seconds. So MQTT will be publishing the data. If it has something, then it can publish the data in seconds or milliseconds. Similarly, subscribe can subscribe for that. Now, if the publisher is publishing the data, but still we have to accept one fact that it is going to communicate over internet. Of course, now we have 5G backbone, 4G backbone. So we have good kind of internet connectivity through OFC cable, everything is there, Wi-Fi is there. So even if it is Wi-Fi, it's going to get connected. Ultimately, at the end, it's going to get connected to OFC and it's going to get, and the data is going to reach there. But still, sometimes there may be a drop also, sometimes there may be a delay also. All those things will be there. Suppose if the device keeps on sending if the device sends the data, keeps on sending that I have the temperature 25, I have the temperature 26, I have the temperature 48. It sends. It keeps on sending the temperature. Let us say it remains constant for 1 minute. If it is going to send in seconds, it will send 60 messages. I mean, 60 messages for 1 second that it has this temperature. 60 messages will reach here. So if you set the queue, the quality of service could be set, but the 60 messages, what it is sending, it is not necessary that it has to be read. It has to be read by the subscriber within that particular time. That broker has to take care. So in the broker, you will have some settings in the broker such that the broker can retain the message sent by the publisher for some time if there is some any network disconnectivity between the subscriber and the broker. So the broker can have settings that it can retain the message. Those are all related to the flag settings. So if the flag is set, you will have different kinds of numerals for the flag setting. So here 0, 1, 2, all those things. So the broker will understand that the broker has to retain the information because broker is a common platform. Broker is a common application that is running in cloud. This is also an application. This is also a software actually. It's running in the cloud. So it is not necessary, suppose the broker, it is not necessary that the broker should store the data unless and until it is requested by the publisher or the subscriber. So the settings should be made, the flag, so broker will understand through the flags. So the flag could be set in such a way that it can inform the broker such that the message has to be retained if the internet connectivity is lost. Or if the message is not sent by the publisher at all, then the broker shall send the last message given by the publisher to the subscriber. So these kinds of settings will be available in the flag. So in the flag, we can set that last retention mechanism, like retention details we can set, whether the message has to be retained or not. Or quality of service, at least like quality of service means here, it keeps on sending the information, but at least once it has to be read by the subscriber. So if at least once if it is read means, then there will be some kind of acknowledgement given. So, like there is some kind of critical kind of message communication also. The critical kind of communication will be, it has to, if it is sending once, then the message should be read by the subscriber. So like that, the quality of service, the flag, everything could be set. So the flag is very important because based on, sometimes if you set the flag wrongly, along with the QoS and flag, both these options will be available. So you have to set the QoS as well as the flag together. Suppose if you do any mistakes there, then you will not have the data read by the subscriber if there is any kind of latency or any network issue. So that matters most, because this kind of message communication is message queue telemetry transport. Small chunk of messages will be passed. The data communication will happen a small chunk of data only. as topic message, that's all. Next topic message, some numbers, that's all. So that's why it's given as message queue telemetry transport. Whereas it's different in HTTP actually. HTTP it sends in the textual like this. You can have this kind of settings like text or plain or HTML like that you can say. But it is different for MQTT. These are all the things which you have to observe when you are developing an IoT application. That too, for Labview I have shown you with this block diagram using MQTT, but because I'm not in lab, I couldn't show the real execution. But still, by seeing this one, you should be able to develop the application. So I'm starting with here. I'm stopping here. So I think
Thank you, madam.
stop the yeah. So any questions in the chat or something?
No,
You can post your questions in the chat also.
dear participants, if you have any doubts, to ask now. You can type in the chat box also.
Have you developed any participants? I just want to know, have you developed previously any kind of IoT application you can put in chat using LabVIEW? Yes or no? At least you put in chat. Let me just check.
Dear participant, you can turn on your mic and you can chat with the speaker.
Or you can just put in the chat box message, you can just type it. Suppose if you have not developed any IoT based application, you just keep in mind all the small concepts and all the points, what major points, what I have told to you. Just try. Definitely you can have, if you have the device, definitely you can develop an application. Immediately you can develop. If you are good, like to some extent, if you know LabVIEW also, that is fine. You have to work on strings and conversion of JSON and all those things. That's it. Nothing more than that. So it is not required that you have to be an expert in LabVIEW there, because everything will be available. Right now they are providing all the APIs. So all the clouds, they are providing the APIs. That too, that 4 cloud which I showed you, they have APIs for LabVIEW. Like Bluemix, IBM, Azure, because when we started working in 2018, except Bluemix, we didn't find anything like anything with which LabVIEW application get connected. But right now, in this 1 or 2 years, Azure has given the LabVIEW connectivity, and it's a good thing. It's a good development because Amazon Web Services Cloud is one of the like foremost running cloud. It's a forerunner right now. Other than the other, even IBM connectivity is not done for all the things. So Amazon Web Services, they give a lot of features. So mostly, and their service also is also set to even Microsoft. All the four are major cloud applications. Like other than this, also you will have some kind of clouds. You can explore that also. But these four are all the major cloud service providers who are having the LabVIEW connectivity. So fine, if there is no question, so shall I conclude, sir?
Yes, ma'am, you can conclude.
Okay, sir. Then thank you very much. I'm taking leave now.
Okay. Thank you, Ganga ma'am, for your wonderful presentation. On behalf of all participants and department of NCET, we thank you for your presentation. It's been a pleasure to have you with us, ma'am. Okay.
Thank you
Dear
very
participants, next session will be start exactly at 11:30. The session link already been shared. Do join 5 minutes early. That will be the end of the session. Thank you. Thank you all. We will meet in the next session. Thank you for your presence. That will be the end of the session.